Now, I know that you're concerned that your landlord, in this case, is going to lock you out of the apartment without going through the court process or while the eviction is pending. I must caution you that landlords do have a limited right to lock tenants out under Texas law, but tenants have strong protections in this area. And I'd like to briefly explain the lockout law. Under Texas law, if a tenant is delinquent in the rent, a landlord can change the locks, but the landlord has to first give the tenant either 3 days notice of intent to lock out if it's delivered by hand delivery, or 5 days notice if the landlord delivers the notice by mail. And the landlord can lock out then, that is, change the locks, only if you, the tenant, are delinquent on your rent. If the landlord gives the notice of intent and you are unable or do not pay the rent, then under Texas law, the landlord has a right to actually change the locks. But at the time the landlord changes the locks to your unit, the landlord has to leave a notice on the outside of your door so that you can see it, explaining that the locks have been changed and telling you where you can get a key at any time of the day or night. If the landlord fails to leave this notice, then the landlord has violated the Texas Property Code provisions with respect to the lockout process, and you would have a right to recover damages and attorney's fees and statutory penalties against the landlord. In addition, the landlord has to actually make that key available to you if you request the key after you've been locked out. If the landlord refuses to make a key available to you, then you have additional damages under Texas law. In addition, if a landlord says, I'm not going to give you a key, then you have a right to go to the Justice of the Peace in the precinct in which you live and seek what is called a writ of reentry. The Justices of the Peace and their clerks are familiar with the writ of reentry process. And you can go to the Justice of the Peace, explain you've been illegally locked out and the landlord will not give you a key, and they will help you fill out the necessary paperwork for the Justice of the Peace to order the landlord to allow you back into the premises. So the bottom line here is that if you fail to pay the rent and the landlord gives you a notice of intent to lock out, he can indeed lock you out under Texas law, but he must make a key available to you at any time upon your request, and he cannot condition giving you a key upon your payment of the rent. In other words, you have an absolute right to get a key even though you're unable to pay the landlord the rent.